Good to go? Anyways, thanks for coming. I talked to you folks earlier this evening about the same case, so we'll give you an update as best that we can. You have two paper releases with you. One was the paper release issued by the U.S. Marshal Service earlier this evening. I won't speak to their press release because I did not produce that press release, but it's just there for your information. The other one is the updated press release that the Medford Police Department has produced, and that'll be emailed to your respective media outlets as well, so you'll get that, plus you can have a hard copy from us. But as spoken to earlier, it was about 5:22 this evening. The Medford Police Department responded to the report of a shooting in the parking lot of Albertson, specifically a police shooting or an officer-involved shooting at that location. The Albertsons at West Main at North Ross Lane in Medford. Upon our arrival, it was determined that federal officers with the U.S. Marshal Service were attempting to make an arrest of a wanted subject on a federal warrant when shots were fired. The wanted subject was found deceased on the scene. No other persons were injured in this incident, and the scene was immediately secured, and members of the Jackson County Major Assault Unit, or the MADU team, were called out. That is the Major Crime Investigation Unit that is per the protocol for this county, and the Medford Police Department participates in that. Because of the location of occurrence, we are the agency of primary jurisdiction, and there were no members of the Medford Police Department involved in this incident, that we become the case agent for this case. We are being assisted by a total of 7 agencies, which include the Jackson County District Attorney's Office, the Jackson County Sheriff's Office, the Oregon State Police, the Ashland Police Department, the Central Point Police Department, as well as the presence of the FBI here locally. The Jackson County Sheriff's Department is assisting by also providing an additional case agent for us to assist in this case as well. The deceased subject has been identified as James Harrison Georgeson, Jr., 20 years of age, who is a resident of Medford. The names of the involved officers from the U.S. Marshal Service are not being released at this time, and that's about all I can tell you at this point, other than this is a very time-consuming and detailed investigation that's going to last for a substantial period of time. Deputy District Attorney David Hoppe is here to answer any questions about what happens after this, but it is the protocol of the Major Assault Death Investigation Unit to complete the investigation, present that entire report to the District Attorney's Office, and Deputy DA Dave Hoppe can explain to you what happens after that point. I'd be happy to entertain a question if I could answer it for you right now.
Was anyone else? How many times?
I couldn't answer that for you.
And was there anybody else in it?
I can't tell you what vehicle is in. There are vehicles there, and we are seizing vehicles. We're searching vehicles. Again, we're going to be there for an extended period of time this evening, and that investigation will pick up again in the morning, and it's going to last for an extended period of time. Excuse me. But as far as what vehicle's which, who's in what vehicle, how many rounds were fired, any of the specific evidentiary or statement aspects of this investigation, I can't tell you, and I wouldn't tell you, because this is a continuing open investigation, and that's not how it operates. This case is going to be presented to a grand jury, and that's where that information gets presented. There were 2 additional subjects that were with the deceased at the time, and those subjects were being interviewed as well. I have no information they're being arrested or charged or being interviewed. That's all that I know at this point. Excuse me. I can only refer you to the Marshal Service's news release, but we wouldn't be making statements as far as any actions on any person, because again, this investigation just began. And if you could imagine what occurred out there at Albertson's, this was at 5:20 in the afternoon at a large supermarket complex with other adjoining businesses, so it was very crowded. There were a large number of people there when we arrived. There was some confusion as to what had initially occurred, and we had to handle the spike at that point, and there were a large number of witnesses involved there too. So as that spike was handled and we had to calm down a bit, we could at least determine who was a witness, who wasn't, and obviously people that were leaving that weren't witnesses had to leave. The store has closed down temporarily to assist us in that process. So there was a lot of things that were going on at that time. And again, the number of people that are the number of potential witnesses is what's going to take some time to get through as well.
You know if that's going to the service plans and
I can't tell you the process that was going on there or what was going on as far as the market service. I don't have any information to that, and I wouldn't speculate to that either.
Can you tell us,
I can't tell you that because I don't know that. Well, like I just previously mentioned, as many witnesses as we could locate at the scene. Obviously, if we determine that there are other witnesses down the road here, we're going to interview those people as well. But there were dozens of people out there in the parking lot when this thing occurred, or immediately after it occurred, or just prior to it occurring, that needed to be talked to. So I can't give you the exact number, but there were dozens of people that needed to be talked to. Whether there are actual eyewitnesses to this or not, I don't know. You'd have to ask Albertson's out there. I don't know.
do you know, how many?
I can tell you there's approximately 25 investigators that are involved in this case right now. The number was a little higher than that when we first got there because of the number of folks involved as far as potential witnesses. It's probably down to about 25. I don't have the exact number, but like I said, there's 7, including the district attorney's office, 7 agencies involved in this. And so, you know, initially you need more folks, but as the tasks get accomplished, that number will be reduced.
you know,
As far as
what
from start to finish. I mean, everything and anything that has any kind of evidentiary value that'll be of interest to the district attorney's office when it gets presented to them and where they go with it from there. So I probably should let Dave Hoppe speak to that because that's the next piece of this.
As Chief George noted, it's an open investigation. I cannot talk about the facts and circumstances of what happened to that officer. What I can tell you is the standard policy of the district attorney's office, an officer involved shootings, to take them through grand jury. There will be a grand jury that convenes and listens to the evidence that's presented. In the interim, there'll be an ongoing investigation involving the MADU, and I will work in consultation with them. I responded to the scene along with Mr. Huddleston, and will be in contact with lead officers on this investigation to make sure that all the questions that we have going into bringing this into grand jury will be answered. We will treat this as we have a dead subject. It's a shooting. We will treat this just like we would treat any other shooting as far as going through the evidence and doing a thorough and complete investigation. As to the reason for the shooting, hopefully that will become apparent through the information that's obtained during this process. I've had an opportunity to discuss this with the U.S. Marshal, and they have told us that they will be cooperative throughout the investigation. Given the nature of what happened, it's not imminent that this has to occur within a certain period of time at this point. There's no criminal charges that have been filed, and it's not anticipated that certain charges will be filed at this time. However, we have a dead young man that will go to grand jury and will go to grand jury on a timely basis after completing a thorough investigation. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Generally, from this point forward, any other news releases or press releases for the protocol come from the district attorney's office. So this will be the last news release that the Medford policeman would put forward on this case, unless there's something unusual or extraordinary that we would have to do. Because at this point, the investigation will proceed. It will be presented to the district attorney's office, and they are the ones that handle the press release from this point forward.
And so you mentioned the store is closed down.
The store is closed down right now. I can't tell you when they're going to reopen, but I would suspect that I don't think, are they a 24-hour store? I don't know. Okay, so I would suspect that they'll open back up in the morning.
Okay. And for the next 24 hours,
we're going to be there tonight until investigators are done with what they need to do there tonight, and then they'll release that scene. So that doesn't mean that we're not going to go back to that scene tomorrow and do some additional follow-up, but as far as restricting areas and maintaining control of that, I don't know if that's going to be released tonight or not. If they're done with it tonight, they might. If they're going to keep it overnight, then we're going to post somebody there. So if the tape's still up, then we're going to be there. If the tape's down, then we could still come back and look later, but we wouldn't need to maintain control over it. Go ahead.
The store did remain.
Yeah, it did. It was
So
in
they
the
did
store.
not close down the store. There very was no investigation. The store was still in business. You guys were like,
I don't have that information right now. Depending on the circumstances, certainly there's information that's exchanged with every law enforcement agency in Jackson County, depending on what the circumstances are, what you're doing, who you're going after, those kind of things. So, you know, case-by-case basis, depending on what you're doing and how you're doing it, and how many folks you have and where you're at, all sorts of variables there. Okay, if you didn't get a copy of both, Lieutenant Hanson will have both of them for you if you didn't get one. Thank you.